Hey babes, welcome to another episode of We Read It One Night. This week we're back from vacation and jumping right back into another listener suggestion, The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. Basically, this book is for all of you folks who watched Ocean's 8 and were just waiting for Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett to kiss. Listen to us swoon over the sapphic heist, allow Alison to introduce you to clown eggs, and join Rachel on her Ben & Jerry's revolution. Remember to drop us a rating and review, and enjoy the show.
You know who I want everyone to empathize with, and by that I mean like rightly slander, is Ben & Jerry's, because so for the past like at least year, like this started like a year ago, maybe more. So I love half baked and like, you know, brownie or brownie flavors, but starting like a year ago, every single pint of half baked I would get, like not every single one, but maybe like 3/4 of them, instead of being like chewy and fudgy like the brownies are supposed to be, they would be like hard and crumbly, and it just ruins the entire pint. And like Ben & Jerry's is not cheap, so I would be like wasting over $5 on this like crumbly brownie shit. And like I thought it had something to do with like the grocery store I was buying it at. Like I thought, you know, maybe they freezer burned it, but like the expiry dates would be like 2 years in the future. I tried different grocery stores, different states, and it would still fucking happen. So like I think I did eventually like file some complaint with them, like just like on their like website, and they sent me like a coupon that I like never got and like never used. And like still, that's not like, I don't want a coupon for like another shitty ice cream. Like what? So anyway, I stopped buying it basically entirely until recently, when I finally was like, because like the problem is like it was so hard to stop because I just like I want it when it's good. So it's like I've just burned so many times. So finally I started again like 2 weeks ago, and I had a string of like 4, 5, 6 great pints. Like it was really good, and I thought I'd cracked it. I thought like there's like 3 grocery stores in our town. I thought that the one I started going to for that, like I could be trusted. And then 3 days ago I bought 2 pints, and both of them are like that, like the horrible crumbly. So I just wasted like over $10 on this shit. And I thought it was like, I don't know. I had like Googled this before, and like I found like some vague Reddit threads, but like I wasn't really sure if people knew what I was talking about. I made a TikTok about it, and like so far, so many people have commented like, this is happening to me. Like I thought I was going crazy. I thought it was just Walgreens letting me down, like blah, blah, blah. Like this is a systematic problem, Ben & Jerry's. Like you need to get your shit together. So many people were like, yeah, like I stopped buying it because of this. Like, oh, my very first pint of half baked was like this, so I just thought it was like that, so I just never bought it. Like, just, what are you doing?
Ben & Jerry's are fucking up. Don't become complacent. You have a strong hold in the ice cream market. Don't lose it. I kind of want to go to Acme or whatever after this, see if they have chocolate therapy. Anyway,
we'll go to any store but Acme, because that's where I got the last 2 shit ones.
Acme is the name of the is also the name of the company in like the Looney Tunes. So they're like playing like, it's like, you know, the Roadrunner playing one long long con on you.
No, I suspect it's like, yeah, it's like one and the same as the Looney Tunes. I have to get to the bottom of this.
Wile E. Coyote.
Well, no, because on this, in Alison, have you ever noticed in Acme, the store, on the wall, it's like serving you since 1919. So like it predates Looney Tunes. I think it's the same.
It probably
Acme.
is the same one.
And in Nashville, there's like a like bar on Broadway or whatever, but it's like in an old like warehouse, like Acme warehouse.
Nice. Yeah, it probably used to be like a bigger company.
I feel like it used to be kind of like the Wells Fargo wagon, like the all sorts.
The
like
Wells
I don't
Fargo
know.
wagon is coming down the street.
Yeah.
Classic.
No, that's the thing, is I won't stop buying it permanently because I want it. Like I want it to be good.
Don't say that, because Ben and Jerry may be listening to this.
No, but I'll definitely
and
buy
they're
one.
like, well, no reason to fix the problem because she's going to keep buying them.
Slander you on the internet. Like it's not
Is
slander.
It slander?
It's
not slander if it's true.
I will spread the truth on the internet.
Rachel is a Ben and Jerry's truther. Okay. On to more podcast related news. If you emailed us in June, it may have gone to our spam and then gotten automatically deleted. And the reason I say this is because we recently found a listener email in our spam among countless offers for someone named Teresa to like buy Bitcoin, to like get 50% off at Macy's, like to go on a cruise. Like if your name is Teresa, like you're missing out on a lot of things. It's all going to our spam. But we are also missing out on listener emails. So if we didn't respond to you, that's why. Please resend.
Anyway, dun 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 dun. Today we're doing The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by...
Did you forget the author?
I never knew the author.
By Erica Ridley. Which is a listener suggestion, and that could be you unless your email went to our spam, and then it's not going to be you because we didn't see it. Sorry. Except for that one person who we did email and we emailed back. You know who you are.
Yeah. This book is historical sapphics, and it's very fun, I thought.
Filled with hijinks and vigilante siblings.
A rollicking good time. And lots of cats. Like, in fact,
there was
a homing kitten, which is that a real thing?
I don't know. There's a lot of wacky animals in this.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So
yeah.
So the premise of the whole this is the second book in a series. Rachel, did you feel like you had to read the first book to understand what was going on?
Not at all.
Yeah, it's in the Erica Ridley's Wild Winchester series. The Winchesters are basically like vigilante siblings. They're a bunch of orphans that were adopted by this guy named Baron Vanderbean. And Baron Vanderbean has tragically died pre this series. But you know, they're all still like rich and committing crimes for the greater good. And this book is the second book. It's Tommy Winchester. I think she's like the second oldest, and Phillipa York, who was the former fiance of the hero of the first book, but like she was never into him, so it's okay. She's not like a spurned lady.
She's friends with like the heroine.
Yeah, she's friends with like his current wife. Like it's all good. It's all good.
And so, like, yeah, the family gets into hijinks. And, like, I, to be honest, like, made no effort to keep track of, like, the various, like, wacky family members. And yet, I still, like, I feel like she did a great job of, like, repetition to where, like, I now know, like, Jacob's the one who's into the animals. Like,
yeah.
I don't really know the
has,
other
like,
ones.
The Gossip Network.
Graham,
I know Elizabeth because Elizabeth is constantly threatening to stab people with her sword, and I cannot wait for Elizabeth's book. I love a bloodthirsty heroine.
And then there's Marjorie, like, but
I think Marjorie's deaf and also an art, a good
forger.
forger.
Right.
Marjorie's a good
it's
forger.
It's not Elizabeth that's deaf. Her hard of hearing. I don't know. Whatever.
I'm not sure. They use ASL for either Marjorie or Elizabeth, or BSL actually.
I got more than I like actively expected to, like just by osmosis. So I appreciated that.
And then the oldest is Chloe, who was the heroine of the first book.
Yeah, but she's like, is she the oldest? Isn't she like the same age as Tommy?
They're like about the same age. Chloe was the first one to be adopted. I don't actually know whether she's biologically the oldest, but she was the first one to like join Baron Vanderbean.
Because I was thinking of her as like the older sister, because that's the way like Tommy I thought thinks of her. But then Tommy at one point was like, yeah, Chloe and I always had our cots next to each other in the orphanage.
Yeah, no, they were together in the orphanage. Chloe was the first one to be adopted, and then
I
like
assumed they were like the same
Tommy.
age. Yeah,
probably about. But yeah, Chloe's very much like the older sister of the group, regardless of whether she's actually like biologically older. Like she fills that role.
Yeah,
and I would say Tommy. The book uses she, her pronouns, and I checked, there wasn't an author's note like there was for Unmasked for the Marquess, but I would say like Tommy's like either like non-binary or like gender fluid even. Like it's sort of like I sort of went back and forth about whether
I would say she, they is solid.
Yeah, because there were definitely times when she was like, I don't feel like a man or a woman. I feel like me. But then there are also times when she was like, sometimes I felt more like a man. Sometimes I felt more like a woman. Sometimes I felt more like either. And that made me think gender fluid. So we're going to use, I guess, just she, her, because that's what the text uses. And there was no indication in the author's note. But yeah, I just wanted to flag that.
So we start off with like Tommy on some kind of like vague mission, like she's following a mark, like
they're in their hijinks.
Yeah,
Tommy's good at disguises. Like she has like a whole like closet, a literal closet filled with disguises.
Yeah, and her siblings are like teasing her about this crush that she's had on Phillipa York for like years. Like she's just been like pining from afar, but she's like too nervous to ever like even speak to her like as herself. So Phillipa is like a blue stocking, like she's like a nerdy girl who likes to read, and like therefore that's like bad or whatever.
She's like quite literally like Phillipa is like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Even like at some point when we're first like introduced, we first get her perspective, she's like, I want adventure. like at her weekly book club, and I was like, I want adventure in the great wide somewhere.
Yeah, and everyone's like, why does she want to read so much? But like, if Belle could speak like multiple languages, like she could decode ciphers, like all this shit.
Belle, she speaks
We don't know
English
that
in the
Belle
movie,
can.
but she lives in France.
That's
so
true.
She
And
does speak at least two.
She can speak to the furniture too. She speaks furniture-y.
It's
and,
four. She speaks furniture
East-ish.
and East-ish. Wait, I saw a post that was like, I want an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast that is like all Muppets except for the Beast, who's played by a conventionally attractive like man, and then he turns into a Muppet at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's like Shrek, basically.
It would be great. And the person was just like, I don't understand why Disney keeps making live action remakes when the Muppets are right there.
I like cannot stand the Muppets, to be honest with you.
But that would be hilarious. Like, incredible.
Yeah.
Like redo the new Star Wars movies, but like everyone's a Muppet except for like Adam Driver.
Like that's like already happened somehow. Like that's what I can like so easily picture that.
There was like a Muppets Christmas Carol. There's been Muppets movies with like that format where it's like one normal guy or like two normal people and everyone else is Muppets.
It's like a children's show format. It's like Blue's Clues.
Mr. Rogers.
Like, you can think of so many. Yeah.
It's
okay.
Excellent. So we should have more.
We should. So Phillipa has her like weekly nerd reading circle with like a bunch of gals, and they all like come hang, and it's all like women her age except for aforementioned Chloe brings her great aunt Winchester. So keep that in mind.
I feel like we can say who great aunt Winchester. I feel like
that was a big reveal. I was like, holy shit.
Was it a big reveal? Oh, I guess
me the whole time.
Because we know that in the original book. So I guess I didn't really.
Oh, okay.
There was never a point where I was like, who is great aunt Winchester?
Yeah, no. I was like, wait a second. Because later on, Tommy's like, yeah, I've been like seeing her at her reading circle every week like for the past year, and I was like, wait, Tommy was there? Like I didn't think that was mentioned, and then I realized it was great at Winchester. I was like, wow, that's weird. Like, I would have thought
that. Yeah, I'm so glad you had that reveal. I don't like the way. I don't know. I guess because like my experience with like stuff like aging makeup and like makeup that makes you look different is like, you know, a school theater where it's like really shitty. But I was just like, how does like Tommy do this with like Regency era makeup? Like, is she gonna die of like mercury poisoning or something like quickly because she's like putting on all this makeup?
Oh my god!
I was like, how does she have the skills to do this? Because we don't have like modern. She doesn't have like modern prosthetics. Like, I was very impressed with Tommy's skills to like become literally anyone.
Yeah, no, it's great. So basically like Phillipa, her parents, they're like commoners or whatever, but like her dad is in the House of Commons, and so he's like, you know, he has like big political aspirations, and they're like super rich. They have like some company, I don't know what, but then mom like really wants her to get a title because that's like, you know, they have like the riches, now they just need the title to be like fully like cemented in society.
And the dad wants someone in the House of Lords so he can like have a political ally for like his political schemes. So like it's not just the mom, like the dad is also
right, but they all except the only problem is that quote Phillipa had no interest in pursuing a romance with any man she'd ever met. And she spends like the first half of this book being like, there's something wrong with me, like my body like doesn't work right, I just like I
sad.
don't
I like that's I mean it's a very common experience, and it is like it sucks to feel something like something's wrong with you. But I was just like, I literally like my note for that is like Phillipa is both thinking that she is gay as hell, but like she just doesn't know it yet. Like she's like fully like very being explicitly like, I'm super gay. She just like has no idea what that means.
Well, she like has never really experienced attraction to a woman before this. We're not given anything. So it could just like, but it's the classic like, am I asexual or am I just like,
it's like Beth in Dark Lover, who was like,
oh my god,
I even thought I was a lesbian because I I've never been attracted to someone. And it's just because she's a vampire. Maybe Philippa's only 23. Maybe Philippa's a vampire.
What I'm saying is like it is possible to just not be attracted to anyone in that way.
Oh yeah.
But, like,
well, you can be like asexual,
yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah. Explore all your options. So her mother like lets the women in, and we get this like from Philippa's. I guess like Philippa's kind of an unreliable narrator when it comes to her parents. Like she doesn't like fully realize like what they're really like until the end, because
She's kind of like an abuse victim in some ways. Like, her parents are emotionally manipulative.
Yeah, well, she's like, my parents, like, they just care about me and, like, they do their best. Like, they're always on their best manners and, like, they do nothing to be offensive, like, all for my marriage prospects. But then, like, the mother, it literally only, like, really is polite to the people with titles. Like, and I'm like, is that not just, like, the height of, like, it's so uncouth. Like, why would you, like, how would anyone, like.
She's just like, and I don't like Phillipa has access. So like we said, her family's rich and she has like her like a really big dowry, right? So like there's a bunch of people wanting to marry her because of that. But she is also independently wealthy because she like has like some sort of inheritance from like her grandmother or something from like the maternal side of her family. That's like hers free and clear. Like she's 23, like she owns this. It's her money.
Right.
And I'm like, and yet you're still like, oh no, I must marry the man my parents want to. I was like, girl,
I know.
Girl, the biggest obstacle in like, and frankly, any time period for a woman to be like independent is money. And you have loads of money.
I was just so unclear on like so many points here because like first she says that that's the reason. And then she's like, oh, well, it's really just because like I wouldn't be able to like get out the right connections to do my charity work. But she's spending her own money on this charity work. But then she's still like her parent, like every time she wants to ask her parents for something, they're like, oh, are you going to beg us to buy you another book again? Is that what you want? And I'm like, why would she have been begging them to buy her any books for at least the past 2 years when she's had her own money? Like, so I just don't, it was very unclear. And even though she has reached the age of majority, like she's like, oh, I could run away, but like that I couldn't see my friends again. So that made me think that like she would have to actually run away, like, you know, cut all ties and like not be found because if they found her, they could still bring her back.
No.
You know, like because even I mean, I assumed even if a woman reached age of majority, like, and she's not married in this time period, like her parents can still like
Once you're 21.
Yeah, so it was just very like very mixed messages all around on that point. Like it's just
it was I mean it was like a combination because she was basically like I can't do my charity work because like I need ladies to like get in on this like spawns become like patronesses and like no ladies are going to want to work with me, and you'll see how silly that is by the resolution of this book. And then I think she's also like is desperate for her parents' approval. Like it's hammered home that her mom and dad like never spend time in the same room like willingly, and like they don't eat breakfast in the same room, and like Phillipa eats breakfast alone too, and like she's like, I'm always the one that has to go looking for them, like they never come looking for me. So it also is like she's desperately trying to get her parents like love and approval, and she thinks like if she finally does this, like she'll get it.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. It's just like, yeah, I think the whole book is just her like not making up reasons, but like it really comes down to wanting her parents' approval, and she just like comes up with all these like secondary reasons that like aren't really reasons.
Yeah,
it's just that like in this time period they're all like plausible, so I'm like I don't know like what to believe. Like
okay, so we're at the book club, and one of the ladies storms in. Her name is Damaris, and she storms in and she's like, my dickhead uncle, Captain Northrop, has stolen my cipher, and he is getting made into a viscount, and he's getting a big party by the Prince Regent to like celebrate it for using my cipher to win the war, but he said he made it up, and like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh my gosh, a man has stolen a woman's work and taken credit for it. I cannot believe it. Not a surprise at all.
That's kind of how they all react. And I have already asked you this, but I'm going to ask it again. Damaris, the name Damaris did not sound at all familiar to you? Because I was like, what is that? And I was like, wait, it's a sword. It's some kind of famous sword. And I couldn't like figure it out. And then I realized it's the fucking like, it's Gavin Havlier's sword from A Throne of Glass.
Is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for the vigilante Winchesters to step in and take Captain Northrop down along with the ladies. And this was the first time that I wrote down my note about how I'm obsessed with Elizabeth and how she is constantly like, she has a cane that is also a sword, and she's constantly like, let me stab, let me at him, let me at him.
Because they're all like roasting Tommy for like not being able to talk to Phillipa, and then someone's like, well, I guess everyone has a weakness. Elizabeth said, mine is uncontrollable bloodlust, in case anyone was wondering.
It's true. Like if her book doesn't involve some sort of like knife play,
I'm gonna be disappointed. Stabbed anyone?
We'll find out in her book. She's always offering. Nobody's taken her up on the offer
Right.
yet.
Yeah, and this is when I realized that Tommy was great at Winchester.
Yeah.
But basically, they're all like, "You need to go for it. Like, it's not even illegal to be a lesbian. Like, yeah, whatever."
Which
And
is
Tommy
not.
is,
It's not
yeah.
illegal.
And Tommy's in like this time period, and Tommy's like, "Yeah, but like, she just has a fear of like people leaving her. Like, she's like, Bean left me, and like Chloe left me to get married, and like." I don't want to talk to Phillipa because like if she rejects me or like if we are together and then we can't be together permanently, like it'll be even worse than never having her.
Yeah, she says, I'd rather never confess my feelings than have her recoil in horror. And all I can think is, you never tell a girl you like her. It makes you look like an idiot.
Yeah. Jacob, the like animal wrangler, is like, give her a kitten. Like everyone loves kittens. He's like, and he's like, give her Tiglet. And Tommy's like, Tiglet's a homing kitten, which I like didn't know it was a fucking thing. Like apparently it is. And Tommy's like, well, we can't fucking give her Tiglet. He's a homing kitten. As soon as she puts him down, he'll run right back here. And Jacob's like, it's perfect. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Like you'll just have to keep returning him. So like you'll have more and more excuses. Come on, let's just think this through for a second.
It's a flawless plan. I don't understand why you're not jumping at this opportunity.
Yeah.
But Tiglet is a calico cat. Like our cat, like our new cat.
But he's a rare male calico cat. And when they first said that, I was like, that's literally impossible because like the reason calicos are female is because you need 2 X chromosomes. Like you need both to be a calico. But then I ruminated on it. And like a few hours later, I was like, wait a second. Klinefelter Syndrome exists. And I looked it up and it happens in cats too. My first thought was like, he could be like actually female, but like intersex. So they think they think she's male. Oh, but then I ruminated on it. And like a few hours later, I was like, wait a second. Klinefelter Syndrome exists, which if you're not aware, it's in humans. And I looked it up. It exists in cats too. It's when you're XXY. So you look like a man, like you present as a male, but you have 2 X chromosomes and a Y chromosome. And therefore it is actually possible to have a male calico cat. That's about 1 in 3,000 because you have to both have that accidental Klinefelter syndrome and get both necessary copies of the X's.
Wow.
Indeed.
Tiglet's even more special.
They're all so Tommy's like, yeah, I can't, like I can't, I'm a coward, like I'll never fucking talk to her.
I love how awkward Tommy is.
Yeah.
Around Phillipa. She's so because she's so confident in every other area of her life. But she's just so,
like they have to be like, listen, if you go talk to her for 20 minutes, we'll back off. But it has to be 20 minutes of actual words, not 20 minutes of pining in close proximity. All right, Tommy?
And she's like, 20 minutes? How am I going to talk to her for 20 minutes? And they're like, well, you could do 2 sets of 10 minutes. Like, you'll have to go back. Whoops.
Yeah. And Tommy's like, her mom wants her to marry like some fancy dude. Like she's never even gonna let her talk to me. Like the mom is like anti-Winchester. And the siblings are like, well, if only we had a conveniently available alias for you to put on. Oh, wait a second. Before Bean, our beloved father, died, to like because even though we are adopted children, like because of the inheritance laws, I guess, like he couldn't have them be his heirs, which doesn't really make sense unless it was entailed. Like it just doesn't really make sense. But whatever, we're going with it. He created
they can't be the heir to the title.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right. So he created this like fictitious persona. But why do they even need, I guess, the title to get like into society or whatever?
Yeah.
He created this fictitious persona of like his heir, Baron Vanderbean.
Horace and Honoria Vanderbean.
Yeah,
who are
son and wife.
No, siblings.
Oh, I thought, are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing to know is that Baron Vanderbean, it's like a foreign title of like this fake country, Balcovia, right? Something like that. Yeah. So I was like, how could like no one have ever seen this son? But then I realized like he could have just grown up in the other country. And they're like, Tommy, you're perfect. Tommy's like, I can't do, because if I do this, like no one else will ever be able to pretend to be Baron Vanderbean. And they're like, oh no, like who else would even fucking play him? Like just fucking do it, Tommy. Like, yeah, because Tommy's like pretty tall for a woman. Yeah.
Tommy's just the only one who can like pull off the disguises that well.
Right. And they now have like Chloe as like their duchess, so they don't really need that. So Tommy's like, fine, I'll do it. And
you've twisted my arm. I'll go talk to the girl I've been pining after for a year. Oh, fine.
And she stages her like attack for the park. Phillipa and her mom are like riding in circles in their little phaeton and ponies or
And
whatever.
Philippa's so weird. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know whether she did this on purpose because she like is trying to scare the men her mom's trying to set up with like away, or whether she's just like genuinely like that weird.
Yeah.
Because like this guy comes up and he's like talking like, and her mom's like, "Oh, don't you like the feather in Philippa's hat?" And then Philippa just goes on this like internal monologue where she's like, "Why do we wear feathers in our hats? Is it because we're pretending to be birds? Like, what does my feather look like? Could it look like a chicken?" And then like she literally is like,
the outward solution to that is
bok bok. And the guy's like what?
Squawks at him. Oh my God.
Philippa. So he frankly rightly runs away. Like if some girl I was trying to flirt with just like clucked at me like a chicken, I'd be like, message received. I am gonna leave now. Goodbye.
So he scampers off, and that leaves an opening for Tommy. And Tommy's like, "What the fuck do I say? Like, what do I say? What's a good opening line? What do I say? Like, I like your brain. I want to taste your body. Like, I can't say that. Maybe I should have brought Tiglet the kitten. Meow is probably a better conversation starter than anything I can come up with."
I mean, Philippa's just clucked, so clearly
meow.
We're animal.
Meow. Yeah.
And they do still talk about animals. They have this whole like convoluted flirting conversation in which like they're talking about how Tommy's horse can read and like what language the horses read.
Oh my God. Philippa's like, "Is this banter? Am I bantering?" Like,
what? So they successfully talk for like 5 minutes, and then Tommy gallops away. She's like, "All right, bye," and then she just sprints out of the park.
Well, Tommy's like they're talking and they're like about the horse thing, and then Tommy's like, "Well, I'll have to go like give my horse a book. I'll report back." And Philippa's like, "I'll be here." Philippa's like, "Wait, after one conversation with me, he actually wants another one? Like what?" And she's like, "I'll be here tomorrow." And then Tommy's like, "She said she'll be here tomorrow. Like that means she wants me to come back tomorrow. Like she wants to talk to me for 2 times. Like who?
This has never happened before.
Unprecedented."
Oh and God. Mrs. York is like, "Well, Baron Vandermean is Winchester, so he sucks, but you can use his attentions to like hook a better man." And Philippa's like, "Okay,
it's just that, but so odd because like I don't know, like on the one hand, she's like, "Oh, no one will." I don't know. It's just so weird that the mom doesn't like want to settle for. I don't know.
Well, she doesn't want to settle also because like he's not a member of parliament and he can't be a member of the House of Lords. So
and I guess she's like, "You had a duke at one point." It's like, what are the circumstances? Do you know what the circumstances for her like duke thing being broken off?
Okay, so basically they were trying. So the plot of the first book is basically the duke is like bankrupt because you know the classic like my father ruined the estate and now I must be super uptight in order to save the estate.
Yeah,
and so he was gonna marry Philippa because of her dowry.
Yeah,
and they were setting that up, but then like Chloe is.
But were they like engaged? Like would it have been like?
I think they were like on the verge of engagement. Okay. Like I don't know whether they were like
actual.
Yeah. I don't think it was like that scandalous
broken engagement,
like, right? A broken engagement.
So Philippa's back at home. She's back on her like reading bullshit or whatever, and she's like, "Well, I guess we can skip this, whatever." I learned that there's a word for scraping the text off old parchment and covering it with new text. Palimpsest, which I really thought I've like heard that word so many times, but I thought it meant something different. But apparently that's what it means.
Is it like incest, but like with parchment?
Palimpsest. I don't know. Yeah, kind of. Well, in a way. Well,
I mean, there's probably some sort of root word there. Anyway. Tommy shows up the next day and is like, "Hello, I would like to take Philippa on a ride in my little phaeton and ponies. And it's Hyde Park is going to be our chaperone. So you don't have to come. Okay, bye." And Philippa and her go on a little alone ride and continue having weird flirting conversation.
So basically they like almost immediately tell each other the truth. Like it all comes out, but like sort of. So basically Philippa is like, "Listen, I feel really bad about this. Like I just have to let you know that like there's no way I can marry you like ever. Like my parents already said no and they just want to use you." And Tommy's like, I don't know if it's this or like the next scene when she's like, "Yeah, like it's a good thing that I'm not actually Baron Vanderbeek. I think I would have figured it out pretty quick because like the mom is not subtle at all, and it's like
Oh yeah,
it goes along. Yeah, it goes along with it like only being nice to people with titles and like being so obvious that it's like you're not like you're not as smooth as you think you are.
She's
And then
in no way smooth.
Tommy's like, okay, well, you told me your secret. Like, I can tell you mine. Like, I'm actually Tommy Winchester. And Philippa's like, oh, like, is it a custom in Balkovia to be like, give your familiar, like, given name so soon? And like, I thought, I feel like typically, like, that kind of miscommunication would like continue for a little bit. But like, no, it's like immediately Tommy's like, no, like, that's actually my name. Like, I'm not Baron Vanderbeek at all. Like,
and then she's like, oh, so you're a Winchester brother? Because your name is Tommy? And she's like, it is a good thing you are pretty because you are so dumb.
No, but
not
like,
really.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Yeah.
No,
Tommy.
that's a totally the fact that it takes Philippa for such a smart girl. It takes her like a few steps to get to learn like figuring out that Tommy is not a Winchester brother.
Yeah, and Philippa's like, oh, does Baron Vanderbeek know that you're pretending to be him? And Tommy's like, yeah, don't worry, like we don't have any secrets from each other. And Philippa's like, oh yeah, that's good because I would hate to find out that someone I trusted was keeping an awkward secret from me. And then Tommy's like, I'm Thomasina. And Philippa's like, oh, so do you mean like you're a man who like decided to become a woman?
Like feels like a woman, or
feels like a woman.
Isn't she asked like, does that mean you're like a trans woman? Or
right. And Tommy's like, no, like my birth certificate says Thomasina. And Philippa's like, her literally her first thought is like, did that mean she was a lesbian? No, the Winchesters often wore disguises. like.
Oh yeah, Philippa, and then like they keep talking, and then Philippa's like, yeah, like my mom wants me to find a husband, but like I only like hanging out with girls. And like Tommy like perks up and is like, and then Philippa's like, so you can help me find a husband, and like I can help you get into society. And Tommy is like, immediately sad.
Yeah. And well, this is like, there's no, I was like wondering the whole time, like, why does Philippa think Tommy's helping her? Like, what does Tommy get out of this? Because at no point was Tommy like, oh, I need Baron Vanderbeek to be in society. Like, I don't know. It's just very unclear.
I don't know. Well, I think Philippa suggests that before Tommy is like, no, I'm a girl. Like, I'm not a Winchester brother. But yeah, no, Tommy's just like, they really don't question the fact. Philippa never really questions the fact that like Tommy's just like doing this because she like clearly just wants to hang out with her. Like she's never once is like, not a thought is given to her. Like motive, being like, what's Tommy's motive?
Yeah. And Philippa's like, oh, well, this is good news because if you were a man, I would always worry that like you were just saying you were going to help me, but you were really biding your time until you could seduce me. And Tommy's like blushes. And she's like,
Tommy's like, okay, yeah, no seduction here. Definitely
I have like
not.
Such a like vivid mental. I don't know how to describe it. Like I can like so picture like Tommy's mannerisms than like just overall like I just so much more than I can with like most book characters. I don't know how to describe it. Like just
Tommy feels
her like
very
shifty,
real.
Yeah, like her shiftiness, like her like, ooh, like, I don't know.
Yeah, like she very much comes alive, and not that like other authors don't make their characters come alive, but yeah, like Tommy feels like tangible, in a way that book characters a lot of the times don't.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
me.
Like it's not even like I can picture like clearly what she looks like or anything.
No.
It's just like I can feel it. Yeah.
The first time I read this book, so the cover has it has two women on it who actually I'm pretty sure are a married couple. I think that's this book. It could be a different sapphic book, but I'm pretty sure it was this book. They're actually a married couple. And the first time I read this, I forgot like which one of them was blonde and which one of them was a brunette. And so I was like, I was constantly looking at the book and I was like, who is it's like, I don't know which one of you is Philippa and which one of you is Tommy. Like, I don't know. But also I did see Tommy's a brunette, by the way, and Philippa's blonde. But also I did see a Goodreads review that was like, it's frustrating that like both of the women, like it's a beautiful cover, but like they were like, it's frustrating that both of the women are in dresses because it's like very clear throughout the text that like Tommy does not feel comfortable wearing like super feminine clothing. So they're like, I wish like they would have put her in like trousers and like a shirt. There's like a brief like little Winchester family.
Yeah. And Tommy's like, don't worry, like Phillipa doesn't want to use me. Like, but then like 2 sentences later, she's like, yeah, Phillipa just wants to use me to get a better like husband. Like,
And the whole family is like, oh my God. But then like they've been betting on like Phillipa and Tommy's
oh
relationship for the
yeah.
past year. They've had like a wild gambling spree.
Oh my
So like they're just
God.
exchanging money left and right this entire book. But also, so Graham, he's one of the Winchesters and he's like the family spy master. And he has like a compendium. Basically, like he has like files on like everybody who like has ever lived. And he has a whole file on the York family, especially because they tried to rob them in last book. And Tommy's like, and I read it so many times that I broke the spine. Oh, silly me. And Graham had to make a new one that I'm not allowed to touch, but it's okay because the broken one is still in my room.
It's just like Alex in Red, White, and Royal Blue with Henry's magazine and like Henry's Wikipedia page that he's like petting all the time. And like
Tommy is like sitting there like staring at like the very detailed map of the York townhouse that they have and is just like stroking like Philippa's bedroom and is like, she's in there.
Oh my God.
I love little awkward gays.
Yeah. Oh, so this scene is like Tommy getting her hair done. Oh, because they're gonna go to like a ball together, like Phillipa and
Yeah, they're
Tommy
going to
invited.
Baron Vanderbean's, like in quotes, first official party invite, and they're going to a ball because everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is the first time Baron Vanderbean, like the new one, has been like in public. Like, everyone should invite him to parties because like he's the new gossip and all that."
Right. Which is so weird why the mom wouldn't like want. I guess like because for the dad.
Well, they're inviting him because he's a curiosity, not
I
because they
guess.
respect him. Because like
Well,
at
but they
this
do
party,
respect
Tommy
him.
overhears like people shit talking.
Well, not really. Like they're all like, "Oh, he's cool, but his family's shit." Like, I don't know.
Well, some of them are like he's cool, but his family shit, and then some of them are just like they're all shit.
So yeah, so Tommy's getting her hair done by like her sister, and she's like, "Oh, my sister Chloe." Like this whole time, like Tommy's kind of like pining for Chloe, like she misses Chloe because Chloe moved out, and it's like really hard for Tommy, and she's getting her hair done. Why can't they have like ladies maids, or like valets though? Like I don't, whatever. But
They have servants in the house.
Yeah,
I think they just like
exactly.
prefer to like do each other's.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because Tommy has like a pixie cut. You know, Tommy has like super short hair. It's not like it's a normal like curl.
Yeah, sure, but
you know
like,
what I mean? Like a normal like woman curling her hair at this time period.
So meanwhile, before the ball, Phillipa is reading her copy. I'm like really unclear on this whole illuminated manuscript thing. Like this is one of those things where I just had to let it wash over me and like catch the vibes. Like I'm not totally clear on how the manuscripts relate to the cipher.
Oh, do you want to give me a rundown? Okay. So there's these illuminated manuscripts. There's 4 volumes, and they're like these historic manuscripts.
Yeah.
And the Northrop family, some long ago, great grandpa, allegedly made these manuscripts. And Damaris based her cipher on like the first volume.
What does that mean? What do you mean she based it on the volume?
So you know how like
what
a
language
cipher,
is it in?
So do you know? I think it's like in English or Latin or whatever. But you know how like a cipher always has to have a key?
Oh, sure.
The key to her cipher is the first manuscript, is the first volume.
I thought, okay, because I thought Damaris like discovered, like cracked a cipher. Like I thought she like discovered something.
She created this. She was like, "Oh, this is interesting," and then she showed it to her.
Oh, I thought she because that was what I was unclear. I thought she like cracked a code this whole time.
I don't think so. No.
Right.
Yeah. So the manuscripts are the key to the cipher. Okay, so they're at the party, and Tommy arrives like in her like costume, and Phillipa is like looking Tommy up and down, you know, like very slowly, and like clearly trying to be like, oh, like I like what is like part of her disguise, and like what's the real Tommy or whatever. And Tommy's like, it's not sexual. She's not doing this in a sexual way. She's not looking me down like to check me out, but like also Philippa's favorite activity is thinking, and so like I would be happy to reveal my tricky disguise by taking off every article of clothing, you know, just to, you know, entertain Phil, like for no reason, just to reveal the trick, like, you know.
Wink wink. And they have like, they basically dance, and it's like, you know, all good and fun, like banter back and forth, and then they go out into the garden for like a little walk, and Philippa's like, oh my gosh, like Tommy is still touching me the exact same way that she was during the waltz, like this is so
scandalous.
hot. Yeah. And then like they just have like a moment of like pining in close proximity,
and then Phillipa gets like spirited away by like some douchebag. And Tommy overhears people gossiping. This is where she hears people gossiping about the Winchesters and like how much they suck. And I like that she's not like, I feel like a lot of times everyone would be like, oh, they're right, Diane, like, and then, like run off. But Tommy's like, fuck that. Like, time to like cause chaos and show everyone that I'm better than them. And she like swaggers back into the ballroom and is like, ladies, like making sexual eye contact with everybody. She's like, Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Yeah, it's like if Philippa can dance with everyone, so can I. And yeah. So then Philippa spends the whole like next day basically being like, why can't I stop thinking about Tommy? Like, it's because we're such good friends. I love having friends.
And she's like, oh man, I wish I could be part of Tommy's family because like they're so close and friendly. And I'm like, just you wait.
And she's like, oh, all I want to do is talk to Tommy to talk about the case, of course. No other reason. So like kind of to distract herself, like Philippa starts looking at the illuminated manuscript that she has, and she has like a battered version of like one of them.
She wants to buy a better version of the manuscript because hers is very torn up, and she wants to buy the other copies. So she's like sent letters out to like all these like people that like these private collectors who like allegedly had them, and they're all like, no, I don't know, someone like bought them up recently, like I don't have them anymore. And so like nobody has like this copy. And so she's like, where do they all go?
Yeah, she's like a few years ago, some persistent collector tried really hard to buy my manuscript. Like, I was like, And I really never got a clear answer on this. I thought it was going to be some like funny or like relevant thing, but it was really just the military, like for security reasons, right?
Well, I thought it right. So the military did it because they were buying up all the copies because it's the key to the cipher. But I was also wondering, well, first of all, what did they do with those copies? Like, did they destroy all of those priceless manuscripts? Because like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Second of all, at first, like, I really wasn't sure about whether like it was all the military or whether it was also like Captain Northrop trying to like hide like any
That's
evidence.
what I thought it was going to be. I thought, okay, this is what I thought was going to happen, because she never even heard back from the quote unquote persistent collector. I thought she was going to write to this collector, naively thinking that it was just like, an actual persistent collector who just really wanted it. And that was going to be actually writing to Northrop, who would then be like tipped off. And then we'd have some kind of like dramatic thing where he like sends an assassin or something to kill. Like, I don't know, something like he shows up and like confronts her and like they have a standoff, Like I thought it was going to be something like that. And then it just wasn't. Like, that's what I was waiting for.
It was just the military, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like such a like little like like sprinkled in like foreshadowing, but it wasn't.
Well, I mean, it was foreshadowing to the military thing. Like, we just thought it was going to be, what was that book we were reading? Oh, it was Yes and I Love You. It was like how Yes and I Love You, I was reading it and I kept thinking it was going to go. It was going to like take a random twist, but like it just kind of chugged along like on the straight path. Like that's what this is. Like you were like, oh, it's going to be an assassin and a fight to the death, but it's actually just the fucking military.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it was relevant here because it gave them an excuse to do some like steely later on. But like
which is always really good. Like more crime.
But it wasn't really like that. I don't know. It wasn't even that like eventful. It was just like a random urchin, like whatever.
Well, it's because Tommy and Philippa aren't the ones that do the actual stealing. Like in that case, they're the distraction and like the like getaway car.
Philippa is looking at her copy and she notices like a piece of paper sticking out from like the binding or something. And she's like, oh, this hurts me, but like I have to take the book apart. And then she like fucking does it.
So she puts on her little fancy gloves and then just like snip.
Yeah. And it's like a letter from, she's not sure who, writing to Catherine.
Yeah. With a K though.
Oh, rats.
Sadly.
And the writer is like, I'm so glad we get to work on this together. Like, no one will ever know it was us, but like, I'm glad we left like part of ourselves in this book, like blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, I love you, Agnes. It's historical lesbians. And Philippa's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And she's like,
before.
Yeah.
She's like, first she's like, oh, maybe they were sisters. Maybe they were cousins. Maybe it's a mother writing to a daughter. Maybe like they were just friends, because like lesbians don't exist today. So like there's no way that historical lesbians.
Well, because her first thought, it for some reason isn't like, she's assuming that this like man, Captain Northrop's ancestor, was the one who actually wrote it. So like as far as she knows, he wrote the whole thing. So she's like, oh, this must be his like apprentice. Like, was it like maybe his daughter, his like, niece, his wife, like someone related to him writing to him? Like she assumes it's right. You know what I mean? Or no, she assumes it's him writing to this Catherine. She's like, could Catherine be his daughter, his wife? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not unreasonable, like given her information set, even though
but like this is another, it's the same thing with like figuring out that Tommy is like a woman where like Phillipa is
just
like
jumps through
there's
like
so
all
many
the
different like steps that she gets. She's like, no way, historic, but she like actively is like, no, lesbians don't exist like today, so there's no way they could exist hundreds of years ago. Meanwhile, like across London, Tommy is constantly like reflecting back to all the sapphic house parties
right.
like she goes like orgies she hangs out on. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, Phillipa, you sweet summer child.
Oh my God. And so Philippa's first plan, her first thought is like, oh, this is great. We can blackmail Captain Northrop with
Nice.
the fact that his ancestors stole stuff from this woman in order to get our friend Damaris, a woman today, credit. And I was like, wait, so you're just gonna keep this secret? But then like almost immediately after, she's like, we have to get justice for all of them. Like we have to bring both
Agnes
out
and
into the light.
Catherine, the like historical
Yeah.
lesbians. And she also finds there's like a secret messaging on the like edges, like the edges of the pages are painted. And so she's like, oh, you have to like, you must have to put all 4 volumes together to like be able to see the full messaging. So like that kicks off them also needing to like acquire all 4 volumes.
Yeah. We find out that like Agnes was actually, it's like she was like the ancestors, like he was in charge of her inheritance, and also she was his tenant, which like is not a great fiduciary.
He was basically just like
relationship.
extorted, like basically just like sucking her dry
and making them like work and like write for him and like
and like throughout the book, like Grandma's collecting like evidence, like historical record, and basically all the historical records are like, this Northrop ancestor sucks ass. He's literally the worst. But like Agnes and Catherine are super cool. They're always hanging out in the village, and like we like hanging out with Agnes and Catherine.
Yeah. And so Philip was like, I have to tell Tommy right away. And like, again, I want to see Tommy, not for any other reason than about the case. And Philip was like, well, my mom reads all my outgoing mail and won't like, only if it's in plain English. They can't be in a cipher. And I don't have time to make a cipher that's like, looks like plain English. So she's like, oh, I'll send the homing kitten. I'll send Tiglet. And so she's like looking for Tiglet. And this is
no. She doesn't have Tiglet yet. No. So, her mom hosts a tea to like with all her favorite gossip friends and invites Baron Vanderbean. And so Tommy rolls up with like a basket where she has Tiglet, but Tommy's like arriving at tea and like greets all the other like old like middle-aged ladies and like flirts with them. And like Philippa is like steaming in the corner like, I'm not jealous at all that she didn't come greet me first. No. And then Tommy comes over and brings her a kitten, and Philippa and her like go and like they're like talking in a corner, and like Philippa's like, am I attracted to this? Is Tommy about to touch my boob? And do I want her to touch my boob? But then Tommy just like brushes off a piece of cat hair, and Philippa's like, is this a heaving bosom?
Yeah. She's like, my bosom heaving? Am I bantering? Is this banter? Oh my God. Philippa attempts to like bat her eyelashes at Tommy, and Tommy's like, wait, if these like disturbing facial expressions are her best attempt at lying, like maybe earlier she actually was into me. Maybe she wasn't lying. If she's like this bad at lying, maybe she like actually was into me, like in the garden last night at the bar, at the ball or whatever.
Philippa also has a moment where her heart flutters, and she's like, am I having a stroke? Is that what's happening right now? Am I dying?
Oh my God. Philippa's like, we need to get these other illuminated manuscripts to like figure out what's on the edging. And Tommy's like, oh, don't worry, like we'll get them. And Philippa's like, yeah, but aren't they like only in like Oxford and shit? Tommy's like, yeah, don't worry. And then the next day they're at like said like garden party or whatever the fuck, and Tommy and her sisters come up and sort of like just like get Philippa on her own. And
they're at Vauxhall. They're at Vauxhall Gardens to see the hot air balloon rise.
Which were alluded to before. And Marjorie's like, don't worry, like I'll forge some and like replace them. And Philippa's like, what? Like Marjorie's like, yeah, I'm an art forger. Like, don't worry. You remember that painting? Like, yeah, that was me. Like,
remember that ugly ass painting that you didn't even like?
Yeah.
Like,
well, Marjorie's careful to be like, don't worry, I'm just gonna make replicas that will look real to like fake hoes like at first glance. Like I of course I won't like really.
She's like, we'll put them back. Eventually.
Yeah.
Be cool, Philippa. Come on. Like,
and then they're just like all walking around, and suddenly, and like then they get to the dark walk, and Tommy's sisters are like, oh well, sorry, gotta go. Like, bye, see ya. And Philippa's like, wait, like what do they think we're gonna do here? And Tommy's like, oh, whatever you want to do. Wink, wink. Like,
and Tommy is basically like, again, like, can't be any more clear, is basically just like, I like you. Like, I have a crush on you. I am
Yes.
attracted to you. I want to kiss you. And Philippa's like,
Yes.
what is she talking about? Sometimes Tommy was a mystery.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
just
God.
don't
It's like
know.
Edward fucking
And so Tommy is
Cullen.
like, oh my
Oh
God.
my
And then
God.
just kisses. She's like, she's not
Yeah.
going to understand.
Yeah.
She is very book smart, but her street
Oh my
smarts are
God.
zero.
Well, and like we find out, we had like a conversation with Philippa and her mother earlier where her mother's like, you need some like new clothes. Like you wear, your clothes are out of fashion. Like you wear too much lace. And Philippa's like, I love lace. It's so comfortable. And that's like what she's known for. First of all, like how could lace ever be comfortable? But like she's literally like to Tommy, she's like, my mother thinks I wear too much lace. What do you think? Tommy's like, I think I'd be happy to help you take it off. And Philippa's like, that's what Baron Vanderbeam would want. What would Tommy want? And Tommy's literally like, everything Baron Vanderbeam wants, but more ardently. And then like Philippa's still like, ha, like whatever. So they're
I was like,
kissing.
oh, that means nothing. Totally platonic friends here, just flirting with each other. So, but about the lace thing, I think it's because her, so like that she wears like lace overdresses. So like the lace isn't actually like touching her skin, like her. Like I think it's just because it's like
Oh,
flowy. Like
I
that's probably what she
guess.
means.
Interesting. So they're kissing and like, but while the sisters are like keeping watch and they run up to like warn them that Philippa's mother's coming.
Yeah, cock blocked by Mrs. York.
Yeah. But Marjorie runs up and she's like signing to Tommy because Marjorie is hard of hearing. And Philippa's like, oh, like, how did you get so much information from just her hand movements? And Tommy's like, oh, like, we all learned to sign. And Philippa's like, okay, mental note, I must learn how to sign so that I can like fit in for no reason. Just
Yeah.
like, it'd be cool to know.
Just like I like to learn things. It would be
Yeah.
nice to know another
I mean,
language.
she does know, like, yeah.
She does know other language. I mean, listen, BSL, I'm pretty sure BSL already existed at this time, or maybe it wasn't invented until like 20 years later. It's definitely like 19th century, I'm pretty sure.
Let's see. 18th century.
Oh, okay, yeah. So BSL is already around.
So.
And at this point, Philippa's like, wow, I really liked that kiss. And I kissed her back and I used tongue. I think the only conclusion that I can reach from this is that I am super gay. But then she's like, what? But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna repress it. I'm gonna put that little bitch back in the closet and I'm gonna lock her in there. We're not gonna talk about her again.
Well, first she like has this whole thing where she's like, I literally was only gonna go through with this like bullshit, like getting married to some like dude and like feeling nothing, in exchange for a library because like it was predicated on the assumption that there like wasn't something better and like a nice library was a good trade for my bodily autonomy. But like sometimes there's a twist in Act 2 that you never see coming. Like, who I feel so lied to.
Who could have seen that, like, a library was not a fair trade to giving up my bodily autonomy and basically curtailing any possible happiness? Like, what?
So she goes, like, after having this realization, the very next thing that her mother tells her is that they've like found a great husband. She's like, we're gonna get ahead of the crowd. Like, no one's gonna see this coming because you know who's gonna be a Viscount but isn't a Viscount yet? Captain Northrop, who is the aforementioned Dick uncle who stole the cipher.
And Philippa's like,
and her mother like has this whole thing where she's like basically like you need a title so that you won't get bullied. Like you're like a blue stocking, so like you'll be like shunned unless you have like a titled husband. And like Captain Northrop likes puzzles and books and illuminated manuscripts just like you. And like Philippa like feels guilty because she's like, wow, my mother like actually is considering my happiness. Like her mother's like, that's at least as important as like having a title. Like they're equally important that you like are happy. And Philippa's like guilted into like, it's just like a continuing, like anytime her parents show like even the tiniest bit of like even passing consideration, she's like, oh my God, like I owe them everything. I have to like, yeah.
Poor little emotionally abused Philippa.
And so the gang shows up for the reading circle and Tommy is still showing up as Aunt Winchester.
And
like
just like you for the first like 10% of this book, Philippa does not know. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, how good is Tommy's disguise? But like Philippa still doesn't recognize her when she's great Aunt Winchester.
Oh
like she literally, Tommy brings her, like has brought like a manuscript that they've stolen from Cambridge. And like she's like, oh, Phillipa, why don't you show me where the bathroom is? And Philippa's like, oh, Great Aunt Winchester, like, fine. And she's like so annoyed with her. And then like Great Aunt Winchester is like, it's me. And Philippa's like, yes, I know it's you, Great Aunt Winchester. And she's like, no, it's me, Tommy, you fucking dumbass.
And then like Philippa gets mad. She's like, you lied to me. I can't believe you did this. And Tommy's like, wait, like I thought you were chill the first time. Like you were chill with that. Like I thought this would be no big deal. Like what?
Philippa's like, but you've been coming into my house for a year. What the fuck? And then Philippa's also mad that like they stole the manuscript from Cambridge and like didn't involve her at all.
Yeah.
She's like, people are making decisions like without including me. Like you're just like my parents or whatever.
And so she like kicks Tommy out basically. Tommy then realizes like, oh, I shouldn't have been like, they both like separately are like, oh, like I'm in the wrong, like blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, Chloe shows up and is like, oh, hey, Philippa, like come to my charity breakfast like this morning. And like the mother's like forced to let her go. And then they whisk her into a carriage where like, who you guessed it, it's Tommy. There is no charity breakfast. There's a Winchester house call.
Woo!
Woohoo!
And Chloe's gonna host the book club now, so that like they can still because Mrs. York has officially like ended the book club until Philippa gets married,
gets engaged, yeah.
And still Philippa is like, oh, they're just doing it because they love me.
Yeah.
Like in the same scene is like she's canceling the book club.
I can't run away because I won't be able to see my friends again. It's like, all right, you already don't get to see them. And then like later on, she's gonna be like, oh, well, when I'm married, like I might even not be allowed to do my book club. And I'm like, all right, well, like what's the fucking point then? Like what?
Like, girl,
yeah,
you need to figure yourself out.
And so Philippa like goes to the Winchester house and she's like, wow, this is amazing. Like they have a slate floor and they draw on chalk everywhere. And you guys eat breakfast together? Because that's her like whole thing is she's always wandering around for meals, like looking for her parents.
Oh no. She's just so like overwhelmed. She's like, what a family. And that was also a thing in the first book too. Like the Duke was like, oh my God, they like each other. What a family. This is such a novel concept.
Yeah. Oh my God. And there's like
it's
everyone.
So sad.
Yeah. Pet Osprey. And she tells them about the parents like wanting her to marry Captain Northrop. And she's like, yeah, like, of course I would be like, a good like candidate for him because I have my own inheritance from my grandmother and my dowry is significant. So wait, so like if she married him, would he get her personal inheritance? Why what the fuck? Like why?
Because married women weren't allowed their own property until I think 1885.
Yeah. So why does she? I just don't understand why.
I don't. It's so silly. I'm like Philippa, because she's been so manipulated, like her whole life. Like she's been so browbeat. Yeah,
but even like her lodge, she's like, "Oh, I'll be able to continue my charity." It's like, no, you won't. You won't have any money.
But yeah, Graham is like, yeah, like we wouldn't have known where to start with the manuscripts if like you hadn't like written all those letters and gave us all that information. And Philippa's like, wow, I'm not a bystander. Like, I did actually contribute. Like, I am a key member of this plan. It's amazing. And like before that, she was like, I was upset, but like, it totally makes sense about why they didn't invite me on the burglary because like I would have been a dead weight. Like I don't know shit about burglary. Like there was no reason for me to come along.
Yeah. And then they're all like, no, like you're gonna be part of the team. We'll like help you learn. Like we all have to start somewhere. And Philippa's like, wow, like it's breathtaking for someone to assume that I'm capable and clever and worth the risk.
And then Tommy shows Philippa her costume room. And for some reason, because like the way it's described is that it seems like each like persona that Tommy has like is bunched together. Like it's not like it's like a rack of clothes that like she picks and chooses from. Like I don't know, the way it's described is like there's a mannequin over there with Great Aunt Winchester and there's a mannequin like whatever.
Yeah.
And
like
for some reason I was vividly reminded of clown eggs.
What?
So clowns, if you guys don't know, each clown has his or her own like custom face. Like the clown makeup is like exclusive to each clown. And in order to like let the clown community know that you are claiming this clown makeup, you paint your clown makeup on an egg and it goes in the clown egg collection.
Why have you never told me this? Is a great TikTok.
I thought you knew this. I thought we had talked about this before.
I'm just picturing Game of Thrones, like first or second season.
Faces.
Yeah. Oh my god.
No, I was like, I was vividly for some reason, like, I was like, "It's the
Why an
clown eggs, like,
egg?
this is what's happening." I don't, because the egg is shaped like a face? I don't know. Because it was
But
cheap, it was probably, like, back from when
wait, but
clowns were,
don't the eggs spoil?
I don't know, maybe it's an empty egg. I don't know, man. It's the clown eggs.
Oh, there's an order form. There's a
Yes.
registry, Clowns International.
Yes.
Holy shit. You can it's a set of eggs as a new member for the price of the registry, and a personal egg is €50 plus postage. 50 euros
Nice.
plus postage. Wow. Do you want to like register just for the heck of it?
No. No. But if
Like-
any of our listeners are registered clowns, let us know. I'd like to know more about that process.
Wow.
I am terrified of clowns, but I am intrigued into how the clown life works.
It's insane. Oh my god, the eyes are so realistic on some of these.
I know.
Oh my god.
I can't believe you didn't know about this. I swear to God that we like discovered this together. The clown egg.
What would be your clown name?
Mr. Wiggles.
We got Chunky Russell, we got Pee Wee, we got Cord, we got Mr. Mudge, we got Reverend Uncle Taco, we got Clumsy, we got Slapstick, we got Zaz, we got Cha Cha, Charlie Caroli, Clown Fryer. Clown Fryer.
That's a good one. Nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
But then Tommy begins undressing, and I immediately forgot about the clown eggs. And I was like, okay, it's time for sexy scene.
Yeah. And Philippa's like, oh, I want to look, but I can't. But I want to, but I can't. Like, and Tommy's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you twitching? You're okay.
And Tommy's turning into an old man. And Philippa's like, am I attracted to Tommy even when she's an old man? Like, what? And then and then Tommy's like, all right, time for your outfit. And Philippa's like, what? I get to dress up too? Like, what would you like me to be? And Tommy's like, my wife. And then Tommy brushes her hair, and Philippa quote tries not to purr like a cat.
Oh my god.
So
off the charts. Off the charts.
I don't know if off the charts, but pretty goddamn high.
Okay. We got like the rare male Calico. Well, I just really actually no, I have full faith that Erica Ridley knew about the Calico thing, because
it is super rare.
Yeah, it's true. I was the one who in fact was not aware of the full details.
You did Erica Ridley dirty. Like, you didn't give her the respect she deserves.
No. So they're basically gonna pretend to be husband and wife, like an old husband and wife, like bickering down the street so that like no one will notice. You know, if anyone notices them, like all they'll notice is that like, you know, they were bickering, like old couple, and not anything actually important. That's like the whole theory. So
they do a distraction kiss. They do a good old distraction kiss. And then like Graham does his part of the job, and he just, you know, he puts the illuminated manuscript in their basket, and he's like, all right, good to go. But they keep making out until a street urchin steals the fucking basket, and they're like, oh no, a street urchin. And Philippa's like, here, take some money, and just throws a handful of coins at the urchin. And the little boy's like picking them all up. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it felt very random. Like, what was the point of that scene?
I guess it was like to just, I don't know. I think it was just like a funny, like, oh, they're so distracted by the kiss, like whatever. But anyway, like Graham and Jacob pull up in a carriage, and they're like, get in with the manuscript. And so they all get in, and there is a rabbit. Jacob has a rabbit on the seat, and he is like, be grateful it's not an attack rabbit. And I could only think of that scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail where like that rabbit just like massacres all of King Arthur's knights.
Yeah. I did not think of that, but yeah, no, I see.
Immediately I like pictured the rabbit like launching itself at King Arthur.
No, I thought of like that Jackson Galaxy video, and I can't remember if we watched this together, but you've been watching a lot of them. I like watched a few. It was like I had a leash train or whatever, and it was like someone being like, can you leash train a cat? And Jackson Galaxy was like, yeah, this person was like talking about how they were walking down the street with their boyfriend. They saw a cat with a leash, and the boyfriend just like started laughing and was like, of course you can't leash train a cat, like ha ha ha. He's like, why is it always the boyfriend? Like just immediately being like, of course you can't, when they're literally seeing it right there. Like, What do you like?
Oh, to have the
He's
arrogance
probably a
of a
dog
man.
person, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That's the Reds. Philip being like, of course does not attack rabbit. Like, I don't know.
Jacob essentially seems to be able to like train an animal to do anything he wants.
Yeah. He's like, actually they exist, but you have to start them young. These guy's already too old.
Yeah, you gotta. And then Philippa is basically like, so they now have a second manuscript. I think it's like, I don't know, like 1 and 4 or something, like whatever, or like 2 and 4. And Philippa is like, hey, so I liked making out with you, and I think that we should make out until I have to get married. And I read all about sapphic relationships, and Tommy is like, clearly I have been joining the wrong reading circles.
Yeah.
Like, they're fucking sapphic reading circles. Like, that sounds great. So they have three manuscripts now. And basically they're like, all we need is the first manuscript, but like it doesn't exist anywhere because, you know, like we've already said, the military destroyed them all. But Demar's is like, well, my uncle Northrop has like the first one in an iron box in his like library or whatever. If we can like, you know, have all the pages together, we'll be able to prove that it's like plagiarized, and like we'll also like be able to like expose Captain Northrop. And Captain Northrop is at one point like interloped on their reading circle like a weenie, and is basically like, I'm hosting a big party because I'm a special boy, and everyone's going to come to my house and tell me what a special boy I am, and Philippa, we're going to dance the first dance, and then they're gonna like, this is great, we're gonna rob him at his stupid ball.
Yeah, he interrupts their like reading circle at the Winchester house, and like Philippa's mother comes too. So now Philippa's like even like tighter lock and key. But like during that, like when they interrupt, Chloe's like, well, like since we're such good chaperones, like surely you'll let Philippa come for like an overnight with me for like charity. Like, of course. And like somehow the mother like can't say no. So basically Chloe wrangles,
she's a duchess. Like, she's like, even though you're a Winchester, I can't alienate a duchess.
Yeah. And so Chloe wrangles like a sleepover basically for the two gals.
They have a cute little lesbian sleepover, a sapphic sleepover, if you will.
Philippa gets to sit in like Chloe's old window seat, like,
and Tommy's like, wow, it's like, oh, everyone's adjusted. Like maybe it is okay that like everyone has their own lives outside of the family. Like we're still a family, even if like people move out. And that's like a big moment for her. But then they go up to her room and they start making out. And this is the first of many times, or maybe it's not the first, but it's one of many times in which Philippa's like, yeah, maybe you could continue being Baron Vanderbean, and like we could just hang out like that forever and ever and like get married. And Tommy internally is like, no. But they go up and they have sexy times, which includes, Rachel, did you notice this? It includes lips and
first
teeth and tongue.
First, it was just lips and tongue. And I was like, where are the teeth? Where are the teeth? And then like 2 paragraphs later, it was like lips and teeth and tongue.
Erica knows what the people want. She gives us what the people want. Yeah. So anyway, they have the full sexy times, lots of orgasms to be had, lots of clitoral stimulation, and it's wonderful. And now it's Captain Northrop's ball, which is significantly less wonderful. No orgasms to be had at this ball.
For some reason, like Tommy can't just come as Chloe's sister. Well, I guess it helps that she's like Great Aunt Winchester because it's going to be like a good disguise.
It's part of the scheme.
Philippa's parents, like basically like Baron, like they like Great Aunt Winchester is there, and like Philippa's parents are publicly arguing about who Philippa should marry. Like, which again, like they're like, oh, we're doing everything we can to like have a great reputation, but like you're literally like what? Like they're literally like. Right. They're like arguing. Oh, and the thing I wanted to say was like they're like bickering, and the dad's like, just because Northrop is going to be a Viscount doesn't mean he's going to take his seat in the House of Lords. Like, how does that work? Like, why? I remember like vaguely something about like not everyone.
So you get, if you have a title, you in the Regency time period. It's different in the modern day because the House of Lords has significantly less power and it's significantly smaller. But if you have a title in England in this time period, then you automatically get a seat in the House of Lords.
Right.
But you don't have, that doesn't mean that you have to show up and like actually participate in politics. Okay. So like by taking up your seat, he means like that doesn't mean he'll actually like come and like vote and like try to pass laws and shit. Like you do not have to do anything with it if you don't want to. You just like have it if you want it.
Fair enough. Right, because I feel like in most books like they don't actually do anything now that I think about it.
Well, a lot of books, it's like, oh, and you know, he went and voted in Parliament when it was important, but like he's not like a politician, you know.
Anthony Bridgerton ever do
I'm
shit
pretty
in
sure Anthony
Parliament?
Bridgerton. I'm pretty sure where I got that like vague quote from is from.
I don't know why that was the first thing that came to mind. And so, like, they're dancing and scheming and whatever, and Tommy's like, "Oh, this might be too dangerous, like, you don't have to come with me to steal the book," and this is when Philip is like, "When I'm married, I won't be able to do stuff like this. I might not even be able to have my friends." I'm like, "Alright, so what's the fucking point of you
Why
getting
would you do
married? Like, I guess the orphans, but you're gonna lose your money, so, like, what?"
Yeah, yeah, right, like, you may not even be able to help the orphans if you don't.
Philippa has, like, what I thought was a big breakthrough for her, but it doesn't quite get the message through. She's like, "Tommy actually wants what's best for me and will do, like, what it takes to make me happy. Unlike my parents who only want what's best for me in so much as it benefits them." And I was like, "Alright, good. I'm glad we're realizing this," but then, like, it
No,
doesn't
and then
fully
she
sink in.
immediately regresses.
Yeah.
Also, at one point, she, like, looks at Captain Northrop, and she was like, "Ugh, I would marry any man but that one." And Tommy is like, "Oh, so she still wants to marry a man. Sad,
Yeah.
sad. Even though we were literally having sex last night in my bedroom, she still wants to marry a man."
They, like, wrangle the key. Like, Chloe, you know, uses her pickpocket skills, gets the key from Captain Northrop, and they, like, steal away into the house. They, like, you know, hoodwink.
Hijinks ensue.
Yeah, hijinks ensue, and they get the book. And, like, the original plan, I guess, was to, like, reveal this tomorrow or something, but Philippa's like, "No,
Because
let's do
Graham
it
has a bunch of
now."
newspaper contacts, so he's like, "All
Mm.
my newspaper buddies are gonna publish an expose." Yeah, but
Which would be much
Philippa's like,
better. That would have been much better, actually, because there was no now that I didn't even realize what because all because Philippa's whole, like this last part of the book, she's gonna be, like, upset because of the consequences it has for, like, her personally being involved, but she didn't even need to be
yeah,
involved. Like,
she
it doesn't make
doesn't think
sense.
about that.
It could have been the
Well, also,
newspaper.
I'm also wondering what like
It would have
how much
worked.
it would have worked because the way that it's revealed here, like
Yeah, it's like that random
it's
army
kind of
guy.
like an in-person, like
Right.
it kind of needed to be in person in order to like
Mhm.
catch Captain Winthrop or Northrop in his lie.
Yeah. And so, like, they walk up to Captain Northrop, who's, like, bragging to a bunch of people. He's like, "Oh, I have the best memory, and, like, I always won the best muscle contest in the military." And I'm like, is that I wouldn't, like, not believe that that's something they had. And I was
Like,
like,
okay, I
"Okay."
guess.
Um, and they're basically like, "What does this say, Captain Northrop?" And they show him, like, a cipher that Philippa quickly wrote up. And he's like, "I don't know. Like, what is this gibberish?" And she's like, "It says that you're a fake hoe, and, like, you didn't write this."
Because if you hadn't made the cipher, you'd be able to do this. And then
Right.
his like random like brigadier general or something shows up, his superior, who we did know was suspicious of him. Like we did get that reference that like his superiors were suspicious, but
Yeah.
like didn't have proof.
Right.
And he comes up and he's like, "Wow, it really does say he is a fake hoe. And if he had really written this, he would be able to understand. I knew it." And then they also like expose that like when the Northrop like ancestor
Yeah.
for being a fake hoe, and everyone sees like the Agnes and Catherine
Mhm.
and like all of that shit. And it felt a little bit in this scene in particular, it felt a little bit like those like old Tumblr posts that was like, and then everyone cheered
Right. I
because
totally
like the whole
agree.
ballroom is like, woohoo,
All
like
the women are like,
justice
"You
has been
wanna."
restored. But
Right.
then that's what, but
Yeah.
I did really like that Erica Ridley immediately was like,
Right.
no, like Philippa immediately gets a
Right.
reality check that like, no, you cannot overturn the patriarchy in like one day. And
Yeah.
like, that's unfortunately not how this
She's
works.
like, "What lady wouldn't wanna join causes with women who stand up for other women?" It's like,
A
sadly.
lot of ladies,
Yeah, a
unfortunately,
lot
a
of the
lot of
ladies.
ladies.
So the next day she comes down, her parents are, like, angrily sitting in the parlor together, and she's like, "Oh, like, I guess here's confirmation that they're not just the same person switching off because this is, like, the first time I've seen them in the same
Oh
room."
yeah, she was like,
Yeah.
I've never seen them in the same room, so I don't know whether they're not the
Yeah.
same.
And there's, like, a bunch of gifts and flowers for her, but the mother's like, "Oh, like, you've ruined everything. These are all from women. Like, they're not from admirers. You
There's
don't have any
also hate
left."
mail.
She's like,
Yeah.
Why would you single Baron Northrop out? Like, there isn't a man alive who hasn't done something he regrets." And, like, he doesn't fucking regret it.
Yeah,
And then she's like, "You'll be
no.
lucky if the newspaper still comes." And the dad's like, "I'm literally reading it right now." Or trying to. Like, yeah.
He's like, "All right, simmer down." And yeah, so basically Philippa is now persona non grata to all the men, which means that she's also exiled by the ladies, because like most of the ladies will like just go along with what their fathers and brothers and like husbands, you know. And she's like, oh no, my charity endeavors. And then her parents are like, your only person left is this old man Marquis, and you're gonna get married tomorrow by special license. And Philippa's like, got a blast. And she just like sprints
and
across
she
town.
like goes and looks for the homing kitten. This is the second time this
yeah.
happens. We skipped over because I was gonna say we skipped over. Okay. So this is the second time that she's gonna go look for the homing kitten to send him as a message, and then she realized like the homing kitten has already left, which means that like the homing kitten can either see the future or like it's just like conveniently runs off like so it's like the message gets across even sooner than Philippa wants it to. She runs across town, somehow like gets out of the house without her parents noticing. Doesn't really
she goes down the
sense.
servants' entrance.
Yeah,
and
she goes to Winchester's, and then like it's like a meow sounded from beneath a discarded frock coat. Like Tiglet's already there.
Aww. And they're like, she's constantly like, oh, Tiglet always runs away, and Jacob is like, he doesn't run away, he comes home.
Just
and
like
it's
you.
like, that's called foreshadowing.
Yeah.
She's going to make the Winchester home her home.
And she goes to talk to Tommy, and she's like, Tommy, listen, here's the plan. You just be Baron Vanderbean forever. Like, it'll be great. Like, go propose right now. And Tommy's like, wait a second. Like, why? It's not happily ever after if only one person is happy with who they are ever after.
Yeah, she's like, Philippa's like, oh, well, you only have to pretend to be him, like, when, like, it's necessary. So, like, at society events. But then Tommy's like, well, also, like, in my own home, like, we would, like, the servants would know, like, I would literally always, there would never be a time when I couldn't be him.
Right.
And Tommy very rightfully calls her out. And Philippa's like, I can't be with you as you... and she runs away.
Yeah. And so she runs away and like runs right into Graham. The way they pronounce it is like is it spelled Graeme?
I have no idea. I was spelling it like graham cracker.
The way it was pronounced made me think it was the EMU.
I don't know.
Graham basically like calls her out on her shit too. Like Philippa's like, I can't be with Tommy, and Graham's like, you can't or you won't. Like, is it really your anxiety that stops you from giving me everything, or do you just not want to?
Philippa basically has a brain blast where she's like, oh, like, I don't have to follow all these restrictions that I've arbitrarily placed on myself in order to please people who don't care about me. Like, this is a novel concept.
Yeah, well, he's basically like, of course, she's like, Philippa's like, I feel so guilty. Like, this is all my fault. I made things like hard for them. Like my dad's political connections, my mom's social connections. And Graham's like, look, it's totally normal. Like, of course you don't want anything bad to happen to your family and friends, but like they should feel the same about you. And if they don't, like, what are you missing? Like, this is when it finally like actually clicks.
Yeah. Cycle of abuse is stopped.
Yeah. And then so like Philippa almost immediately like runs back and is like, Tommy, like, she knocks on the door, and Tommy's like, that's probably Graham. Like, I can't tell him I'm in here. He'll just like sit outside the door to comfort me. Like, meh. And Philippa's like, it's not Tommy. It's not Graham. It's Sir Philip. It's Sir Philip. And Tommy's like, who the fuck is Sir Philip? And she's like, hey, I'm Sir Philip. Tommy's like, you look fucking...
She's basically like, I'm sorry, I want to be with you. And I do like that Philippa has to do a little grovel for Tommy, because Tommy has spent the whole book bending over backwards to like make Philippa happy. And honestly, I could have had a longer grovel for Philippa. And the only reason I'm not upset about it is because I'm like, well, Philippa is like was very truly like in an abusive relationship with her parents. And like, you know, I don't want to victim blame, but I would have liked a little bit more of a grovel. But I also glad that Tommy doesn't let her off the hook immediately. Like, she's like, okay, but like, what if like what happens next time it gets hard? Like, what happens next time society tries to outcast you? Like, are you gonna like run away again? And Phil was like, no, I won't.
Yeah. And then they're together forever. And then we get the sexy times, and then we get the epilogue.
Wait, before that, Philippa does tell her parents off. Like, she goes up and she's like, I'm moving out.
That's the epilogue.
No. The epilogue is
okay.
the book club.
I forgot about that. Okay, well, okay. So
she tells her parents off, and the dad stands up for her.
Well, the dad, like, this whole time, like, keeps trying to, like, throw shade on the mom, but, like, also he definitely does want it for political reasons.
Yes.
But it just reminded me, the telling the parents off just really reminded me of the leaving of Matilda's parents in the end of Matilda in the book. So not the movie where they just like roll up and like sign it
I'm gonna need
immediately.
you. I've only read the book once and it was a long time ago. So
It's basically
how
just
is it different?
like the same thing. It's like the mom's like, "Oh, but like, don't you want to come with us?" And Matilda's like, "No," and like, I don't know. It just gave me the same vibes. Like like basically the mom's like, "You're my only daughter." Or maybe this is the movie too, but she's like, "You're my only daughter I've ever had,
Yeah.
and I've never understood you, not one little bit."
Yeah. That's in the movie too, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the dad stands up for her like for once. Is basically like, give it a rest. Like whatever, let her do whatever she wants. And I was just like, I still want to drop kick you into the Thames. Like honestly, fuck you for throwing the mom under the bus.
Right.
Like here, because like
He's
you are
constantly
equally
doing
to
that.
blame. Like you're emotionally, you've
Right.
been like emotionally available. You've been very much making Phillipa feel like she has to earn your love. Like you suck too. And
Yeah.
it was very much, it kind of like arose my like Mrs. Bennett defense,
Right.
mechanisms in which like
Right.
Mr. Bennett is frankly worse than Mrs.
Right.
Bennett. We don't have to get into that because we're not talking about Pride and Prejudice, but like I was very much like, I just feel like the matchmaking mom. And this isn't like a specific criticism of Erica Ridley. This is just a common trope I see in like Regency romance where like the matchmaking mom always gets so much flack, and 90% of the time like the dad is like as bad or worse and like never seems to get the flack. And I feel like there's like some internalized misogyny percolating there.
Right. Because like the mom has been the only one like trying to make everybody happy to some extent, whereas the dad has just been like impressing his expectations without having to like actually get his hands dirty at all.
Also, just the dad has so much more power. Like,
right.
This is Regency England. Like, the mom does not have her own. The mom legally belongs to the dad. Like, none of them have any sort of like autonomy.
Oh wait, okay. I take it back with the Matilda thing. I actually think it's it just reminds me of the movie, not the book. The book is like much more like whatever, let her go if she wants to. Like we don't care. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, the dad.
And then as Philippa's like leaving, her reading circle appears and they still want to be friends. So like, woohoo. Yeah. And then Tiglet runs off, but then Philippa's like, no, Tiglet. And then he turns around and like jumps into her arms.
Yay. But where would he be running? Home. Where would he be running to though if she lives
to the Winchester home?
They live there already. Oh yeah.
No. This is when she's leaving her house.
I was questioning how Tiglet has been a kitten for so long because Philippa has met him. Philippa met him before the events of this book started.
Yes. At one point, Tommy is like, maybe it's just an epilogue. She's like, you have to stop acting like a kitten because you're not a kitten anymore. Even though we keep calling you a kitten.
It's just like our cat's really, really small, and like she does look like she's only 6 pounds.
Yeah.
How much does the average kitten weigh?
Less.
It's gonna be like birth weight. Yeah, by
like
age.
3 ounces.
Yeah, 16 to 20 week old kitten, 5 to 6 pounds. 6 months to adulthood, 6 to 8 pounds. So she's on the low end of a normal cat, but she is very small looking.
And then the epilogue is like, I mean, they're just like all happy anyway. Cat scale.
I say off the charts still. Maybe not off the charts, but like. All right, I have my
pretty
number.
high.
We've established the case. We got Tiglet. We got some purring. We got lots of meows as greetings. We got Calico male.
Lots of meows as greetings.
We got a kitten. Our Calico's like smaller than usual. I wonder.
I don't know.
To do with that. Anyway, 3,
2,
1, 8.
Nice. We agreed.
Woohoo! Nice.
Where can they find us, Rachel?
Alison. They can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at We Read It One Night. You can find us on Twitter at We Read It Podcast. And you can email us wereaditone@gmail.com. You can obviously listen to us wherever you listen, as you would obviously know because you're listening to this. But if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we would really appreciate it if you would leave us a rating and review. So the rating is like super easy. You just have the stars. The review does not have to take more than a few seconds. And you can write like literally whatever you want.
What would your clown name be?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could pick a clown, what would your clown name be? If you for some reason are like very averse to picturing yourself as a clown because you're scared of clowns, give us like your stripper name. you know,
Yeah,
and then
it's one
also
and
be
the
like,
same,
great
honestly.
great podcast, XOXO, Captain Chuckles,
Yeah.
you know, for
Clown
example.
fryer.
Easy. You can literally write that. I give you permission to just take what I just said and write it in your review. And listen, wait. So it's Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but I actually looked up a list of other apps that let you think. So it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, Stitcher,
Mm.
Castbox, Amazon, and Audible, and a few more.
Oh, I didn't know
So
Amazon Audible could do that. Nice.
it lets you, I think Amazon and Audible just lets you do a rating, not a review. But
Okay. Well, fair enough.
yes.
Spotify
So
too.
leave us a rating and review. Trick that good algorithm. Don't let Is Tim Cook still the CEO of Apple? Don't let Tim Cook win. I don't know. Don't let him suppress romance. And whoever the CEO of Spotify is, don't let him suppress romance.
Yeah. And on that note, Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed. Also, Conrad. Hi, Conrad.
Hi, Conrad.
That's a listener call out. If you email us, you may get one too. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.